Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Disability Visibility at USF podcast interview series. I'm your host, Liz Cusack, Director of the USF Humanities Institute. This semester, we are interviewing faculty, staff, and students who are involved in disability studies, research, and advocacy, and to provide a platform for them to share their stories. This is a follow-up to our event with Alice Wong that we held last week. And today I am joined by Mel Dayan. And welcome, Mel. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, yes. I actually am a senior student at the St. Petersburg campus
Awesome.
at USF. Go Bulls. Um, um, and I think today I would like to just start off saying with what I do have as a disability.
Okay.
That is, I have generalized dystonia,
Okay.
and yeah, and I actually got it while being a student on campus. So,
Wow. What was that like well, first of all, for those of us who don't know what that is, can you tell us a little bit about like how that impacted you?
oh yes, of course. So generalized dystonia is one of many forms of dystonia. Dystonia is when the part of your brain, the basal ganglia, is not working properly,
Okay.
or and that just means, I guess, in layman's terms, like more normal terms, that your muscle control area sends out signals incorrectly.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
yes. So, because I am generalized, it means that it affects every single muscle in my body. And I can have any wrong sense at any moment. Luckily, with the work of John Hopkins
Mhm.
down there in St. Pete, I have been able to get a good medicine regimen in so that way I can speak,
Yeah.
I can walk again, and yeah.
Wow. So what was that like having a medical condition like that come up while you were, a student and in the middle of, your studies?
It was really rough.
Yeah.
Um, I moved from a different state down to here just for college,
Mhm.
and I barely had made any friends. And then all of a sudden, they all kind of I couldn't do what everyone else was doing because of my new disability.
Mhm.
So I didn't really get to know anyone until later on in the first semester when I started. I luckily got taken in by the John Hopkins, even though I was 18. And the John Hopkins I went to was the child's one.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they have a great team down there. I know a couple of people who they either go there or either went there or their kids go there. It's a really amazing campus they have down in St. Petersburg.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah.
that's great. Were you able to go to or watch the Alice Wong event? I'm just curious if anything that she said, you know, sort of resonated with you or anything that she said that maybe you didn't agree with, if you had any sort of, take on some of the stuff she talked about.
Of course. Near the beginning, she was talking about disabilities in general and saying how people sort of think of disabilities as someone who is elderly, or they can't kind of do anything for themselves.
Sure.
And of course it varies, but we are not all, elderly folks. So you just have to kind of remember that no matter how young or old you are, it can happen, and that's okay. You will refine your path, um,
Mhm.
and just stay strong and don't let the stereotypes get you down. I know I had a lot of stereotypes, and I still do.
Yeah.
Um, so that really resonated with me in the beginning. It just kind of blew me away. I couldn't even, like, I don't think I even could hear, like, the next few minutes of her talking because, Alice Wong was just so moving. She was
Yeah,
very moving from the start, so
yeah. And I love just how much energy and passion she brings to this area, and how much work she's done to um to really like highlight the diversity of issues at play. um, we read sections of her anthology, and it was like every piece we read brought something new to the table that I had not considered before. And so I think she's doing some really cool work. Um, so I know we wanted to talk a little bit about like your specific sort of um, I know not always good circumstances. So at USF, like what are some of the challenges you've run into that you are having to deal with?
um, I think one of the biggest things is that people don't they even when I explain to them what my disorder is, a lot of them won't take it as seriously as it is just because I did learn to walk again.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean I don't have times where I can't walk at all. That still happens. I still have my wheelchair and I have canes all around my house.
Mhm.
So the hardest part was really just interacting with others. I had issues in the dining hall because they just kept poking and prodding at me, even though I said it was uncomfortable. Um, a lot of people just really didn't know how to react. And so some of them just reacted poorly, but I don't think they really understood how it sounded from my side. So I always just tried to keep going, not let it get to me. Of course, as a newly disabled girl in a new state, all alone, there was times where I was upset, of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
Or I didn't even know how to handle it. And I'm still figuring that out as I go. Another big thing was a lot of people don't like realize how the campus is built when it
Mm.
comes to sidewalks versus grass. Um, I had to go and talk multiple times with some of the groundskeepers because some of the ramps had overgrown like brush.
Uh-huh.
And so I couldn't use them. There was a class that um, I couldn't even get to before, and luckily, the professor at the time was very understanding and kind about it, because I couldn't even get in. And then another time was this is gonna sound weird, but it's sprinklers. Not a fan.
Yeah, yeah.
I, yeah. I've also had just a lot of issues with being able to open and close doors
Mhm.
on my campus, um, just because sometimes I don't people don't really think too much about hitting the door open button, but
Mhm.
I need that, and
Mhm.
sometimes, especially some of the athletes, I'm not gonna say who, but they would come in, they would punch it, and so then when I went to use it, I couldn't. But, I mean and also just it took me so long to get from class to class. There were like, there's part of the campuses that are more steep than others,
Mhm.
and that was very difficult because not only did I have to wheel myself up and down them, um, I had a backpack on with textbooks on the back of my
Yeah,
chair.
yeah. And not knowing
Uh,
if the door would open, I imagine would be like an extra frustration.
oh, yeah. That's, like, at the front of where I was on campus at the time, that dorm building, it has 2 doors at the front that you have to go through, so there's, like, a little middle area and then another one.
Yeah.
Um, the first one said that it was automatic because it had the sticker, but there was no button. There was no automatic. I had talked to it about it multiple times to different people on my campus, professors, higher ups, anyone that I could get to see. And it was hard because I had to learn how to open up really heavy doors in a wheelchair with my book bag. And, people don't know if they want to jump in and help, because I do understand that there are people that are in wheelchairs and they don't like the help as much as others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a weird gray area for everyone involved,
Sure.
including myself. Um,
One of the things I've heard you talk about a couple of times that's caught my attention is how often you are having to find different people on campus to talk to, whether it's, a faculty member or the grounds crew, or that it seems like you're doing a lot of work going out and finding the people that you need. Um, would it, do you feel like you're investing a lot of energy in finding the people you need to talk to?
yeah. Oh, yeah. And also just a loss of path. Like,
Yeah.
I just, after so many people that you talk to and nothing is actually changing,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, well, where do I go next? I've tried these people, these people. Um, all of the professors I talked to were extremely supportive, uh,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it came from things that were either for class or even outside of class, because I lived on campus. I sometimes, as I was struggling to make friends, I was also struggling to be able to get to the store to
Yeah.
go and, get basic stuff like shampoo and conditioner, that kind of stuff. Um, so luckily, some of them were offering help for me, and I felt very happy about that. That made me feel so safe and so heard. And even if I didn't know what my disability was right at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they didn't even, they've never even heard of my condition. They were just like able to see that I was needing help, and
Yeah.
they would talk to me. And I really appreciate all the staff members who did that. They did get me into some of the higher ups as it went. I actually had a professor of mine one day. She asked me if she wanted that, because she wanted to see what it was like having to go around campus, because I was always having to come in late to her class.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I had to find sidewalks that were not bumpy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so I let her push me one day, and oh my gosh, she was outraged
Yeah.
once she realized like how, in order to get to classes, I have to go around entire buildings. And um, I have no idea if you've ever been there, but the Fish and Wildlife Center, they hold one course over at St. Pete in there. It's 2-story, like, lecture hall.
Okay.
It's all steep ramped. I get terrified going to class because I'm trying to stop my wheelchair as best I can without
Right.
running
Yeah.
straight into my professor. And luckily, because it was a psychology course, pretty much everyone was very nice about it. They were very calm. Not saying that some weren't, some I never interacted with, so I
Yeah.
wouldn't know. But I got lucky. I made friends in there, and they would help push me up or keep me from running straight down the auditorium aisle.
That's, I mean, I think that's just such a great perspective though, because I think it's stuff that a lot of people just don't think about, and don't have the sort of perspective and empathy that, would be beneficial in a situation like that. Um, so if you could just change things on your campus, um, what would be some of the things that would be make things easier for you, like having a central person to talk to, or like what if you could just snap your fingers and make it what you wanted, what would that look like?
I think one of the things I really wanted actually was to talk about my disability and what it was. Because, I don't mind if people stopped and asked me some questions as long as they were polite.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that conversation was definitely needed. And I sought it out and I tried and tried and um I just don't think that the St. Pete campus was prepared for someone, like myself. Um,
Mhm.
I did find a support person. I don't know if you know what, like, SOCAT is.
Yes.
Uh,
Mhm.
yeah. So, when I went there, they had a member who had just joined who had cerebral palsy, and
Okay.
shout out to her because we were one of very few people on campus that used a wheelchair,
Mhm.
and it was just so nice to just relate to someone and talk about the different struggles. Especially because I was new to the whole disability gang, so
Yeah.
it's like, what? But I really do wish that there's more awareness made of, and just mindfulness, whether it comes to approaching someone or mindfulness in landscaping. Um,
Mhm.
I'm not a big fan of the sprinklers pointing up the ramps, so
Yeah.
like I can't even get into a building. And honestly, I really just hope that my campus could be up to ADA code.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. I should not have to continuously fight for that.
I 100% agree with you, and I think to me it's surprising some of the things that you're still dealing with at like a what seems to me like a pretty entry level kind of game. Um, that those are things that you're still running up against. So yeah, that's got to be that's got to be really frustrating. Um,
Oh, yeah.
well, I don't want to keep you too long. I really wanted to thank you for making the time to do this and your wonderful honesty and your wonderful answer to these questions. I really really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Oh, our pleasure. So I'm going to remind our listeners that this is an ongoing series. We plan to have between 6 and 8 different interviews over the course of this semester. So we invite you to join us next time.